All right. Good morning, everybody. Bill Lester here with this week's virtual plant clinic. I am with University of Florida IFAS Extension Service here in Hernando County. And normally I would be here along with my regular co-host, Lily Browning, who is our county's Florida-friendly landscape coordinator. But she got called away today. She's not able to make it. So it's just me and you guys. So if anybody has any lawn and garden questions, any pictures you'd like to share, anything else, just go ahead and post them in the comments and I can see them, share them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Can't answer quite everything, but we'll find an answer to it one way or the other. Good morning, Monique. How are you doing? Um, this morning, it was a little chilly. I live in Spring Hill, and I think the TV and the thermometer said it was about 38, maybe 36-ish. And there was ice on my windshield and frost on the roofs of the houses. So hopefully not enough to damage any plants in my yard. In my vegetable garden, I still have some peppers and eggplants, which do not tolerate cold weather very well at all. Hopefully they're okay, but it's just an example of average weather doesn't always occur. The weather's not always average. Some years we'll get, a taste of cold weather early. This is a little early to be getting down into the 30s. It's only, what are we? Well, we're getting up to late October at this point. So it's almost time for, the weather to cool off, but not quite this cool. But it happens. Now, it may be warm from now until New Year's Day after this. I don't know. And the weathermen don't necessarily know that well either, always. So hopefully nobody suffered any damage from the cold weather. Anybody on here who's from North Florida, it's got colder up there. And if you're down there in, South Florida, Broward County, it's still warm. It hasn't really cooled off at all down there. So if anybody has any questions, let me share a few things with you. Hopefully, all of you know that both Lily and I have a regular series of classes going on. Almost all of our classes right now are being done virtually online, which is nice because you can tune in just like you're doing right now on your computer and watch us live. But if you're busy on that day and time, everything gets recorded. So we put most everything back onto Facebook, so you'll be able to catch it there. A lot of it is also recorded and put on the Hernando County Government YouTube channel. And let me go ahead and show their link. There we go. And let me go ahead and put that in the chat box also to make it easier for you to click on and visit. So Lily and I did a class yesterday. Let me go ahead and share this link for everybody. There we go. Lily and I did a class yesterday, and she said it was going to be just about class number 100 that she has recorded, and it's going to end up on the Hernando County Government YouTube channel. That's pretty impressive. I don't have quite 100. I got a lot, but I'm definitely a little bit behind her with that. So a lot of times you may have questions about how to grow a specific crop. I know I got an email the other day and a lady was having problems with growing blackberries and also strawberries that she had in her garden. And it just so happens that we did a class a year or two ago on growing blackberries. So I was able to send her the link to that class. And we also did one on strawberries with the University of Florida researcher who does all the research finding the newest, tastiest, sweetest varieties of strawberries for commercial growers. And he did the class for me. And that's recorded and that's on YouTube also. So I was able to send her the link to that also. So classes online are extremely convenient. Please be sure to take advantage of them. If you're ever wondering, well, what kind of classes do you have coming up over the next few weeks? If you go to that link scrolling along down at the bottom here, the www.hernandoextension.com, That's a freestanding website, and it has a list. It has information on all of our upcoming classes. Mine, Lily's are normally on there. Everybody else in our office that does classes on whether it be scallops or whatever the topic may be, it's hard to keep on top of what I'm doing, let alone what we're all doing. All of it's on there, and that's fed directly from Facebook. So follow us on Facebook, check out the events to see what's coming up, or go to Hernando Extension, all one word.com to see also what's coming up. And that'll give you all the information you might need to know, like is it going to be on Zoom? Is it going to be on Facebook Live? Is there registration involved? Is it just tune in at the right time? Whatever it might be, everything you need to know is going to be right there. So, a couple of great resources. And Monique has a question here. Monique says, my doveweed, yeah, I'm familiar with what doveweed is dying out. And as I pick it up, it's killed off or crowded out some of my St. Augustine. I want to put down more black cow. Do you think areas will fill in, or do I need plugs? I usually add the plugs. Doveweed is generally a weed. It's a small, very low growing plant. Growth habits kind of like crabgrass and grasses like that. It spreads, and when it gets established in your lawn, it grows. It will generally freeze back and die once it gets chilly. So that's how people know where it is. It's like, oh, there's a big patch of brown stuff over there. You take a close look, it's all dead doveweed. The problem is it's going to come back in the spring. So if you go out there and pull it out or rake it out and get rid of it during the winter, that's a great idea. That's fine. That gets rid of it. It's going to come back in the spring. So you may want to think about using a pre-emergent herbicide, generally mid to late February, to stop the doveweed from coming back again next year. Doveweed's very aggressive and will push out your St. Augustine and take over a little section. So if you pull it all up, now you have just bare dirt. So depending on the size of the dead spot or the empty area, yeah, you probably want to think about adding some plugs. Or if you're able to find individual pieces of St. Augustine, sometimes they have them at the big box stores, but not always. Private nurseries have it sometimes, but not always. If you look online for a sod service, they usually sell sod by the single piece. It may be easier and better just to buy 1, 2, 3 pieces of sod and put them down in the empty areas, because they're going to establish and spread faster than plugs. Plugs can be a little difficult to work with because in theory, they're a great idea. You have a St. Augustine lawn, you clear out a little dead area, and now it's all bare dirt. If you get a tray or a couple of plugs and put them in, they're going to root and start to spread. And in theory, they're all going to fill in, and now you have a nice filled in lawn. The problem is when you first put those plugs in, you have to keep them moist. If they dry out, those plugs will die. And dead plugs generally don't come back to life and start to spread and do what you want them to do. So they work, they're just a little hard to manage. You have to really, really watch with the watering and keeping them moist until they get established and rooted and start to spread. After that, you can follow just a regular irrigation program and they're going to spread and do fine. So plugs work, can be a little difficult for some people to actually make them work. And Monique says that she uses the pieces from edging her beds. That helps also. You know, it's funny how St. Augustine grows fantastic in your flower beds once it gets in there. So much better than it does out in your lawn. Of course, you want it to grow in your lawn. You don't want it to grow in your flower beds. So that's a great idea if you're digging out St. Augustine from your flower beds. Take that and put it back in your lawn. So all good ideas. For anybody interested in replacing a St. Augustine lawn this time of year, a lot of people ask about that. You can put down a St. Augustine lawn pretty much any time of year. On the hottest days in summer, if there's no rain, it's tough because you're going to have to water it a lot. So that might not be the best time to put it in. If you know we're going to have a freeze in 2 days, putting your sod down right before a freeze might not be the best timing either, but generally any time of year is fine for putting down sod. If for new home construction, when the day comes where they need to put down the lawn to get the house finished and sold and the paperwork signed, they put down the lawn. They don't worry about the weather, and their lawns generally root just fine. So pretty much any time of year is fine for sodding. Right now can be a particularly good time of year because it's not as hot. The sun is lower in the sky, less intense. It's going to be a little bit easier on your new sod, not as stressful. With the heat and, really long, really sunny, hot days, that gets very stressful on sod. So now can be a very good time of year to put down sod if you're looking to replace some. And yeah, Monique knows how it feels to have that St. Augustine shooting through your flower beds. Just be thankful that you don't have torpedo grass shooting through your flower beds. That is something that you'll really never get rid of. Torpedo grass, sorry guys, it's a vining grass. A lot of people confuse it with crabgrass. It kind of looks the same or similar to crabgrass. And it vines and it spreads around and it shoots deep underground and then comes back up. So if you go along and you just pluck it all out, in 2 days, it comes right back. If you go and start trying to dig all the roots out, you'll never get all of them. And if you get 99 of them and you leave one root behind, in a few days, it will come shooting back and take over your flower bed once again. If you're able to carefully spray herbicides, something like glyphosate, triclopyr, a Roundup type product, that does work well to kill torpedo grass, but it's really hard to get 100% of it. The best you're going to get is decent control, not 100% eradication. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat box. Here, I wanted to mention we have a short survey. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the comments here for anybody who is watching today or watching tonight or watching tomorrow. Whenever you're watching this, I went ahead and put a link to a very, very short survey in the chat box, and I'll go back and make sure it's in the comments underneath the recording of this presentation on Facebook, our Facebook group, and on YouTube. So if you watch this at some point, please do us a favor and click on that. It's a very, very short survey just to get an idea of, did you learn something from watching a program like this? Are you planning on implementing that? It gives us valuable feedback to give us an idea of how we're doing and how we can improve and how we can make things better. And I'll double check to make sure in that survey that there's a spot where if you have comments, questions, suggestions, whatever it might be, hey, please do a class on, I don't know, growing mulberries, growing mulberry trees. We've never done one of those before. So if you want to see a class on growing mulberries, that gives you a chance to throw that in there. And I do have lists of things that I need to put together, and we'll get to mulberries eventually. I know we have a series of vegetable gardening classes going on, and people make really, really valuable suggestions about what topics they want to see covered. Because after a certain point, I start to run out of ideas, and I need your help to come up with fresh new ideas and new topics and things that you want information on. So I went ahead and put that in the chat there. It should have shown up. But if you prefer, if you'd rather write it down, there we go. Like I said, it's a very short survey. This is a secure website that you're going to go to that University of Florida uses for doing surveys. So we appreciate you taking just a moment and doing that. Let's see what else do we have here today. If you ever have any further questions, please feel free to send me an email. It's wlester@ufl.edu. Calling me is probably the worst way to get in touch with me because I'm here, there, everywhere. Today, I'm sitting here right next to the phone. So if you called me right now, you get a hold of me. It's just a lot of days you won't. So the best way to get a hold of me is email. If you have a lawn and garden question, send lots of pictures. There's no such thing as too many pictures. I always tell people that. A lady sent me pictures of her viburnum hedge the other day, and she included, it must have been like 10 or 12 pictures, and that's great. Send multiple emails if you have to be able to send all the pictures, because that makes it easier for us to figure out what's going on. And that way we're going to be a lot more effective and accurate when we diagnose it, when we give you suggestions about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So no such thing as too many pictures. Fill my email box with pictures. We love it. And we will get to you just as soon as we can. There's days if I'm out in the field or I'm traveling. I've been doing a lot of traveling recently. Had to go to Savannah, had to go up to University of Florida Research Center in Citra. That's just outside of Gainesville. So if I'm traveling, of course, I try to travel safely and not drive and get directions on GPS and check emails at the same time. I don't do that. So we'll get to you just as quickly as we can. And Monique took our survey. See, Monique says it was very easy to do. I'm a big believer in short, to the point surveys. I don't want to waste a lot of your time. I know I hate having my time wasted when people send me an email. Can you take our brief survey? Well, yeah, I'll do that for you. I open it up and it's 14 pages long. I'm like, oh, I don't have all morning. So Lori has an interesting question here. Do saved tomato seeds have to be fermented first, or will they be viable without that process? Thanks. I know that a lot of people do ferment their tomato seeds, and I do not know off the top of my head the timing for that. What you want to do is you want to take the tomato seeds, you want to put them in water, and they kind of ferment. They get kind of nasty and icky looking, but you do it for a certain amount of time, and then you rinse them off, you dry them, you save the seeds. Now they're going to germinate. I know tomato seeds do not need to be fermented to germinate. If you've ever grown tomatoes, and cherry tomatoes or other tomatoes get bug chewed, a rot, they fall off onto the ground, birds peck at them, whatever it might be. If you let tomatoes fall to the ground, you will have tomatoes popping up in your garden for a long time, sometimes a couple of years. They still randomly come up in my garden from old past tomatoes in seasons gone by. So you can ferment them, but I don't think that you have to. I think the germination will end up being better if you ferment them. And you really want to just look that up online. There is so much information online about like I said, the timing for it, because you don't want to let the seeds ferment for too long, but they have to ferment long enough to kind of ferment off the coating on the seed, the tomato gel that's still on the seeds there. Okay, now we got a couple questions. And Corey says, this morning between Hudson and Spring Hill, solid frost, 35 degrees on an outside thermometer. That's very, very close to what I had. I had solid ice on the windshield of my car, and there was frost on the roofs of all the houses in the neighborhood. Not terrible, and it was gone. I'm sure it was gone 15 minutes after the sun came up. But surprisingly cold for this early in the season. That's another good reason why, if you have a vegetable garden, you should have been participating in all of our classes we've already gone through, planning out your best fall and winter vegetable garden ever. We talked about growing leafy greens, growing brassicas, which are broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and a bunch of other vegetables. And those are all cool season crops that don't mind chilly weather. For everybody who's been busy planting cucumbers and squash and putting in little tomato plants, this and that. If you live where it got a little bit colder than us, I think even just Citrus County got a few degrees colder, you may have problems out in your garden this morning. Things may have been either damaged or completely killed from the cold. So there's just another reason why you need to respect the seasons and the environment here and work with them and grow things at the right time of year that are going to do well with the kind of weather that we may get. Now, I know it was either, I don't know if it was last winter or the year before that. Oh my gosh, it was warm and flat out beautiful all the way until about Christmas and New Year's. I think it was last year where the week over Christmas was beautiful. It was sunny, it was warm, not hot, cool at night, but no frost, not down to freezing or anything. Beautiful weather, no problems with freezing weather until after New Year's. So sometimes you get that. Other years you get frost for October 20th. So you can never tell. Corey said that he had frost on the ground. I didn't see any frost on the ground or in the grass. We were probably a degree or two warm enough where we didn't get that. Alicia, good morning. How are you? Alicia's here from Orange County. And regular viewer Cindy is here from Pinellas County. Good morning. Hopefully you didn't experience too much damage from the recent hurricane. Pinellas County kind of dodged the bullet on that. I know that we really did here in Hernando County. At one point when the track was changing every couple of hours, at one point they had it going straight over the top of my house. Wasn't too happy about that, but the track changed. I mean, we don't want to forget the people who took severe damage down in South Florida. Where was I? I was over in Volusia County last weekend around the Deltona Orange City area, and we had to drive over the St. Johns River, and the floodplain, basically the whole area near the river, that's almost always dry, but not really high, is all flooded. There's water in the woods, there's water still in the ditches, water alongside the highway. We didn't encounter any road closures, but there's a lot of standing water anywhere near the St. Johns River at this point. So hopefully all of our regular viewers made out okay with that. Hopefully you're not suffering too many problems with flooding, floodwaters. Hopefully you didn't take a whole lot of damage from high winds. Corey points out that his buddy with a tropical nursery is in trouble because he had to take down his greenhouse plastic for the hurricane. I know nursery growers will do that. If they know that a hurricane or high winds are coming, they'll go out there with a knife and they'll cut the plastic off the top. And I've been told by greenhouse experts that a lot of times, if you're going to get extremely high winds, it's better and cheaper to sacrifice the plastic and let the wind blow through the supports and the structure of the greenhouse than to keep the plastic on, have the wind catch it, and destroy the entire greenhouse. So obviously, it's very, very expensive. I hate to imagine how much greenhouse plastic costs nowadays. And given the fact that everybody's having to order it right now, I don't even know if it's available. I know that we've had problems at our Master Garden Nursery buying pots, buying fertilizer, buying even tags, the little tags that tell you what kind of plant it is that you stick in the pot. There's shortages on those also. I know a few months ago, all the different pots were out of stock for about 90 days, and we pretty much ran out. We had to reach out to the public for, hey, if you have any old pots sitting in your shed or garage or whatever, bring them in, and a lot of people did, but we weren't able to get pots. So greenhouse plastic, yeah, that might be a challenge getting that, because greenhouse growers use a lot of it. Big greenhouses take big rolls of plastic. So if anybody has any other questions here, Yeah, Corey says then everybody has to buy extra when you can get supplies, so it's up and down. So yeah, that's how it goes. I think a lot of people, and I mean, we don't want to encourage hoarding, but a lot of people are kind of when it's available, when it's on sale, when you find it at a good price, get some extra, put it aside. We do that with food. I started canning again. Um, if anybody's interested in learning about canning, extension offices do a lot of work with different various canning classes. I know Orange County Extension is supposed to have some coming up. Um, we touch on that. Here, let me go ahead and put this in the chat box. This is a series of classes that we have coming up. And as a matter of fact, the first one is today. The first one is at noon today. So if anybody is free at noon, we're doing a whole series of classes called Food Systems in Season Workshops. And today's class is going to be on vegetable gardening. Um, we have a couple of experts speaking on that. Next week, we're going to be talking about goats because a lot of people are interested in being more sustainable. And a lot of people love the idea of, I want to start a farm, I want to get goats, I want to get chickens, I want to get bees, I want to get cattle, I want to grow pine trees. They want to do all these different things. Where do I start? And we tell people you start by reading and learning a lot and finding out all the things that you need to think about long and hard about. Let's use as an example goats. Goats are wonderful animals, and we're going to have some here at the office next Thursday at noon. So go ahead and click on that link that I just put on there. They're totally free. We have a series of 5 of them coming up. First one's today. Next week is going to be goats. So, goats are wonderful to raise, but goats don't raise themselves. There's things that you need to know in advance. Goats have to be fed, they have to be cared for. They do get diseases, they need a certain amount of maintenance and care, and you need to have understanding of just how much work goes into goats before you rush out, buy a couple of goats first, and figure out how you're going to care for them and raise them second. You want to do it the other way around. You want to think long and hard and come up with a plan for having goats, then go and find appropriate goats, and then you're able to care for them and raise them, and everything will ideally work out fine. If you have a problem, your goat doesn't seem well, they're not eating their food, whatever it might be, we're here to help with specific questions like that. So I always enjoy when we have uh, sessions on goats because they are very engaging. We're able to actually bring them here to the office and have them live on camera. Can't really do that with beef cattle. We haven't tried bringing one to the office. Well, we would have to keep it out front, I guess, but might have to try that next. I'll have to put that on a list of classes to have coming up. Everything you need to know before you go out and purchase and start to raise cattle in your backyard. So, Corey asked about planting brassicas, and he asked, what kind of beans or peas will handle some cold snaps? Good question. Generally, beans are not going to handle the cold very well. Peas will. So good old-fashioned green peas, like Green Giant, the kind of peas that they put in a can or freeze in a bag, will grow just fine. And I grew them once before a couple years ago, and yeah, it takes some work shelling them, getting them open, and getting the peas out. Once you get it down, you can kind of get the workflow going pretty well there. That it's not difficult, just a little tedious, but they were fantastic. Fresh peas are about 1,000% better than what you buy in a can with tons and tons of salt or frozen. So if you've never tried growing fresh peas before, give them a shot. They grow great during the winter. Snow peas and sugar snap peas both take the cold and grow really well during the winter. Snow peas are the flat potted peas that if you ever go out and get any kind of Asian food, maybe carry out Chinese restaurant food, go to an Asian restaurant, Thai food, it's the flat peas that you eat the whole thing. Sugar snap peas look more like a pea pod, but you eat the whole thing. Regular green peas, the pod is really, really hard and fibrous. You can't eat that. You have to pop it open and get the peas out and cook them and eat them that way. All three of those, plant them now. I just planted mine about a week or so ago, and they're coming up and they are loving this cool weather as long as I keep them water because it ain't going to rain for a while. Don't want them to dry out. They're popping up, and I have really high hopes of having a good crop of snow peas this year. One of my wife's favorites, so I always try to grow a lot. They freeze really, really well also. So don't be afraid of growing too many snow peas and snap peas. You could freeze them for, use later on. So they grow really well. If we get a really, really bad freeze when they're growing, they'll take a little bit of damage. All the flowers will freeze and fall off of them. But don't worry, just water them, keep an eye on them, keep caring for them, and after the weather gets out of the freezing range, once it clears up, they'll flush out with more flowers and get more peas. So they'll flower and give you peas for a couple months during the winter once they get up and going. So good question there. If anybody else has any other questions, if you go ahead and put them down. We're going to try to keep today a little bit short because, like I said, coming up at noon today, we have our first Food Systems in Season workshop. Go ahead and go to that link, sign up. It's Eventbrite. It's free, really simple to register, and you'll get the Zoom link and you can tune in. And today we're talking about vegetable gardening, I think. I'm going to have to make sure that we're all set up and good to go for that. And Corey asks about those peas and snow peas. A little bit of heat won't stop them. They don't like heat that much. Heat, once we get to the end of winter and into March and April and into spring, when it's consistently warmer day and night, they'll stop producing. They'll generally start to decline from fungal diseases. They'll start to lose leaves, and they'll let you know when it's time for them to go because they'll die once we get a little bit further into spring. If you ever try growing them during the summer when it's too hot, they generally won't germinate, they won't come up, or they will die very, very quickly before they're 6 inches tall. A little bit of warmer weather during the winter, they don't like it, but it doesn't really hurt production a whole lot. Hopefully we won't get any really weird like hot fronts where it shoots up into the mid 80s or upper 80s this winter, because a lot of these crops, that makes them really unhappy. It damages and pretty much kills production on cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, spinach. So there's a few things that hate warm weather that grow during the winter. But peas will take a little bit of warmth. Doesn't bother them too terribly much. Keep in mind for all those different cool season crops, ideally the weather is 60s to 70s during the day. Let's say 50s or 40s at night, sunny during the day. You're going to be able to keep everything perfectly watered. And you know what? We never have perfect weather like that. I think that'd be absolutely perfect for me also. I love weather in the 70s. I don't like weather in the 30s and 40s and even 50s. And I about froze to death this morning. I had to dig out my jacket last night. I hate ice on the windshield. That is horribly cold as far as I'm concerned. So cool season crops, love it when it's cool. A little bit of up and down and deviation from that isn't terrible. Too much will make them extremely unhappy, and then they kind of show you they're unhappy by not producing very well. And Lori asks a very good question. The workshop today, the Food Systems in Season, will it be available to watch at another time? Yes, it will be. We'll be recording that, and it will be hopefully showing on YouTube also. It's going to be on the Extension Central District's YouTube channel. But if you go and register, even if you don't show up live, we're going to email the link to the recorded video to everybody who registers later on today. So go ahead and register, and even if you don't show up to any of them, we'll send you the links to be able to watch the recording afterwards. Because we know, I mean, we work for a living. I'm not sitting at home or available to watch too much educational stuff here. I do sometimes for work at work, but a lot of times my schedule fills up and things conflict. It's great when these things are recorded and we send you the links, and then you can watch them this evening if you want, tomorrow, this weekend, whenever it's convenient for you. It's really good for training also. A lot of times, if people watch something live or they come in person and see it live and it didn't quite click, they have some questions afterwards. Maybe they didn't take really good notes or didn't take notes at all. And they're like, what was that product they mentioned? What was that link? I didn't write it down. Recordings are great because you can go back and refer to them. And I know a lot of people appreciate it because they'll say, I didn't really understand what you're talking about, but I watched that section on the video 3 or 4 or 5 times, and all of a sudden it clicked, and now I understand exactly what you're talking about, and I got it. So technology can be great. Being able to offer all this information, these classes that we do, these plant clinics where we answer your questions live, being able to share them after the fact and in many different platforms is great also. So, we have another way that you can listen to these virtual plant clinics, and you can listen to all of them, believe it or not. And we've been doing this for, I think, right about 2.5 years. I think our 3-year anniversary will be coming up in April. And Lily and I are going to have to plan something for that. I think we're going to have a cake in here for that one. We haven't done that yet. And we will have a live cake for the 3rd anniversary. Because to be able to do something like this for 3 years and have you guys support it, because if I look up in the corner and I see 0 people watching and 0 little thumbs up, it'd get discouraging eventually, and we probably would have given this up. But because you keep showing up, we'll keep showing up also. So give us some more likes, give us some more little hearts, some more little thumbs up there. Um, be sure to share this with your friends. Be sure to go back and watch the recording 10 or 15 times. Every view helps. But another way that you can enjoy the virtual plant clinic, get the information from it, is by listening to it as a podcast. And here is the link. If you go to Anchor FM, Anchor is a free podcasting service. And we have this with the audio recording of what I'm doing right now. Later on today, I will put up on Anchor, and you can click to Anchor. If you go to William-J-Lester, it should be under that. Or if you look up the virtual plant clinic, you're going to find them. And they're all on there. A whole bunch of them. I haven't counted recently how many episodes we've done, but it's a lot. And you can click on any one of them, and you can listen to me, and you can listen to Lily, and you can listen to Bernie, and you can listen to all the past virtual plant clinics. This one, I know podcasting has become very popular among a lot of people. It's a growing medium, so that's why we wanted to put something on podcasting. We're probably going to do a little bit more with podcasting in the future. And let me ask our 9 people or so who are on here right now. I know a lot of times we have Bernie on here. So when I'm out of town, I kind of send Lily an email. Hey, Lily, I'm going to be out of town. Virtual plant clinic is all yours. And she's like, well, I'll just have Bernie come on with me then. And I know that people enjoy listening to Bernie. And apparently the last time he was on, Lily got dropped because of internet problems. And Bernie just took off and took care of it on his own, which is great. So how many of you guys want to see more of Bernie? Or maybe we'll plan on doing something this coming year, and we'll give Bernie his own show. We'll give him a spinoff. So this is great. If we're to the point where we're starting to spin off other online shows, then that means that things are doing just great. Monique loves Bernie. Cindy says Bernie was great last week. Yes. Um, Going back up here, Sandra asks, are there any updates on the Master Gardener class? Yes, I get to work all day long Saturday, and I'm going to be pulling together the virtual Master Gardener training with that. So I'll be emailing everybody. And Sandra, I have your email, so I'll send out information on that and how to sign up for it and how to get more information about it before you sign up for it. I'll be doing that ideally this weekend, Saturday, unfortunately for me. Corey says radishes and lettuce grow well here because Monique asked, what is the easiest and shorter winter crop you'd like to grow? And Corey has it right. Radishes take 30 days from when you plant the seeds to when you can pick the radish. And lettuce takes a bit longer. But lettuce is nice because if you grow leaf lettuce, it grows. It doesn't have to be full grown before you can start picking individual leaves off of it and eating them and enjoying them. You don't have to wait 60 days for it to become a fully grown lettuce plant. And Corey says that he's a 5-year fan somehow. I've been with Extension, it'll be 9 years in just a few weeks, really, middle of November. And we've been doing Facebook, Facebook Live going back, my guess is about 8 years at this point. So I guess you can call us early adopters. When COVID came along and we had to instantly transition to doing everything online, from classes to having a way to answer questions, which is why we started the virtual plant clinic, to Master Gardener training for Sandra. So Sandra will be taking virtual Master Gardener training, to virtual meetings, to just trying to do everything online. It wasn't a big stretch for us because, heck, we were already halfway there. So we did have to learn how to use Zoom. That was interesting. We had lived through Zoom bombing until Zoom made some adjustments where we can lock things down. Now we don't have to worry about Zoom bombing anymore. That's a thing of the past. Had to get proficient with Zoom, had to remember to hit that little record button, otherwise it wouldn't record. I think I made that mistake once or twice. But it's just learning and practice, and it's so great that you guys have kind of been along for the ride. Sorry if things don't always look 100% professional and perfect the first time. It does take us a little time to learn how to get a little bit better at this. Cindy is a 3-year fan. We love hearing things like that. And for everybody who's on here, I mentioned it earlier, I'm going to share this once again in the comments. If you have not had a chance to take our very short satisfaction survey, please do so. We love to hear from everybody and get an idea of, did you learn anything from watching and listening to the virtual plant clinic? Have you been able to actually use that in your garden, your yard, your greenhouse, whatever you might have going on, your patio? If you live in an apartment and you're just trying to grow a 3-gallon pot full of radishes, were we any help to you? And that gives us an idea of how well we're doing and gives us an idea of what direction to go in. So, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up here shortly because I have to go and prepare for yet another virtual online thing. If you're free at noon today, go ahead and go to that Eventbrite link and sign up for all of the classes for Food Systems in Season. There's a full listing on there about what is going to be covered each week and who the guest speakers are and what topics we're covering. Even if you know that you can't make it at noon ever on a Thursday, go ahead and sign up anyway, because that way you're on the list and we will send you links to the recordings to be able to watch what you missed at your leisure or at your leisure or at your convenience. And I tell people who are going through virtual Master Gardener training, nice thing about this is you can do it when it's convenient for you. If you want to do it at 2 in the morning in your pajamas, that's great. You can do it. Maybe it's easier for you to do it at night when the kids are in bed and the dogs are quiet and everything's nice and quiet where you can actually focus, that's great. So Sandra asks, my daughter is a freshman up at UF. That's great. I went to UF. I was there taking classes for quite a few years. I'm always fascinated when I drive around to see the greenhouses and the bat house area. Are there ever any tours open to the public? They do have tours up there. For greenhouses, not so much. For the bat house, I know that you can find that online on UF's website, and they do activities and events there. I've never been there for one before, but they do really promote that, and I know that they had to add to it or move it or do something about a year or two ago with the bat house. And yes, you put I figured out you were talking about the bat houses up there. And it's definitely worth seeing. There's a lot. They have a lot of bats in their bat houses. If anybody's interested in seeing what a bat house looks like, you can go to the Chinsegut Conservation Center in Brooksville, up there very close to 41 and Lake Lindsay area. And they have a couple of bat houses there that have bats in them, and you can see the bats come out at sundown or dusk. So Cindy, you are very welcome. Sandra, you're very welcome. And some Facebook user says they're Lily. I'm going to have to block that one. Can I block? I wonder if I can block commenters here. So yeah, Lily kind of bailed on me today. So, but that's okay. I stepped up and saved the day, and we still had a plant clinic, and we had a chance to answer all of your questions, because that's what we do here, is answer your questions, whatever you have a question or problem with. And hopefully you're going to learn from everybody else's questions and problems. And I know that I always learn something every day that I go to work. So don't think that I'm not learning things also. Monique, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Lily's getting ready for the Sheriff's Safety and Fun Fest on Saturday evening in downtown Brooksville. So if you live anywhere near downtown Brooksville, go there Saturday evening and look for the Hernando County Utilities Florida Friendly Landscape Table, and you can meet Lily in person, along with Carmen Bruno, who is with Hernando County Solid Waste Department. He's the one who kind of coordinates or instigates our composting programs and classes and mosquito control. And it's going from 4 in the afternoon till 9. The weather should be beautiful for it. So don't worry about all hot and sweaty, and it's going to be beautiful. You don't have to worry about that. And Cindy says that she used to participate in bat counting in South Jersey. Yeah, bats are a very popular topic. I am not a bat expert. We'll have to have a bat expert on again sometime. We'll have to talk more about bats. Everybody likes bats, except when they get into your attic, and then nobody likes bats. But I haven't not gotten a call on that in forever. I'm sure I've gotten at least one phone call on that over the years, but not recently. So on that note, since we seem to have wandered off into bats, into the Sheriff's Safety and Fun Fest Saturday evening, be sure to show up for that. And I don't see any other questions here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back here again next Thursday. Let me check my calendar. What am I? No, I'll be here for the plant clinic next week. Hopefully Lily will be also. She should be. I'll try to get a guest here. So we'll be here again next Thursday. Hopefully all of you will be here again next Thursday also. And until then, thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, if you ever have any questions, go ahead and save them up for Thursday morning. Email them to me. Maybe I'll save it up for Thursday morning and answer it then. And we'll all see you again next Thursday. So until then, everybody take care and enjoy the beautiful weather. And we'll see you next week. Bye.